Have you ever wondered why some men seem to attract women without doing anything at all? They're not running around trying to impress, not flexing their cars, not bragging about their achievements, not chasing every text. They walk into a room and something shifts. Eyes follow them. Conversations tilt toward them. Women feel it. Men notice it. And yet nobody can quite put their finger on why. You've seen it. You've felt it. Maybe you've envied it. And the truth is, it's not an accident. It's not luck. It's not even about looks the way you've been told. It's power, but not the kind you perform. It's the kind you hold back. Think about the times you've tried too hard. You stayed up late drafting the perfect text. You offered to pick her up even though it was out of your way. You listened to a talk about another guy and reassured yourself that being supportive would eventually win her over. But what happened? She drifted. She stopped responding. She pulled away. That sinking feeling in your stomach wasn't because she didn't see your effort. It was because she did, and effort, when it bleeds desperation, is unattractive. You thought you were proving yourself. She saw you proving you had no other options. Now compare that to the man who doesn't try. He replies when he wants, not because he's playing games, but because he actually has other things pulling at his attention. He doesn't rearrange his schedule for a woman he barely knows. He doesn't flood her with validation because he doesn't need hers to feel steady. When she tests him with silence, he doesn't panic. When she tries to push boundaries, he doesn't argue, he simply doesn't play along. She calls him mysterious, but he's not hiding. He's just not handing over his entire soul in the first 5 minutes. And that restraint feels like power. Here's the part most men miss. Attraction without effort is about subtraction. It's about stripping away everything you do to prove you're worthy and letting her see that you already are. Most men think attraction is built by adding more texts, more compliments, more attention. But every extra ounce you throw at her says, I'm investing more than you. I'm here on your terms. And women, even if they never admit it, lose respect for men who trade dignity for attention. Picture this, you're on a date, and she pulls out her phone mid-conversation. Most men laugh it off. They wait. They sit there. They keep talking when she's ready to listen again. They accept the disrespect and hope being easygoing makes them likable, but the man who doesn't try doesn't wait. He pauses. He lets the silence fill the table. Maybe he casually checks the time. Maybe he leans back. Maybe he simply stops talking. He doesn't scold her. He doesn't argue. He lets her feel the weight of ignoring him, and because his presence is valuable, she puts the phone down. That's attraction without effort. It's not passive, it's power in restraint. But here's where you need clarity. This isn't about pretending. If you fake disinterest, if you rehearse aloofness, women can smell it. They see the cracks. They'll test you harder until you break. And the second you break, you prove you are acting. True non-effort comes from building a life that doesn't orbit around her. It means your work, your purpose, your training, your craft. Those things keep you rooted. So when she pulls away, you don't chase. When she tests, you don't flinch. When she throws the trap of silence, you don't fill it with nervous words. You hold, and in holding, you win. The trap is simple. Women test men not because they're evil, but because they want to feel something real. They want to see if your confidence can withstand pressure. Every time you collapse by over-explaining, over-texting, over-chasing, you tell her you're not the man she hoped you were. Every time you remain calm, you prove you are. That's why men who don't try feel magnetic. Their very indifference is evidence of strength, and strength is always attractive. So here's your tactic. The next time you feel the itch to send a double text because she hasn't replied, don't. The next time you're about to cancel your plans just to see her, don't. The next time you feel like proving yourself by telling her everything you've achieved, stop. Let the silence work for you. Let the space breathe. Attraction isn't built in how much you give. It's built in what you refuse to give away. Women don't want your effort. They want your presence, and presence is only powerful when it's scarce, not desperate. Now, ask yourself honestly, how many times have you given too much too fast? How many times have you mistaken effort for attraction, only to watch her fade? And when you think back, what do you wish you had done differently? Tell me below. Which mistake stings the most when you look back? Be honest. You've probably noticed this the moment you stop trying so hard. People treat you differently. It's not just women. Think about when you're at work, the guy who constantly volunteers, constantly stays late, constantly tries to please the boss. He doesn't get promoted. He gets used. He gets leaned on. The boss knows he'll always say yes, so his effort becomes invisible. But the guy who does his job well, speaks up when it matters, and doesn't bend over backwards for approval, that guy gets noticed. Why? Because people sense where his boundaries are. He's not desperate for recognition, and that very lack of need makes him more respected. The exact same principle applies in dating. A woman senses where your edges are, and if you don't have them, she'll push until she finds nothing left. Most men lose attraction not because they lack charm, looks, or money, but because they lack resistance. Women test, sometimes without even realizing it. They test to see if you collapse. They test to feel whether your strength is real. Imagine you're texting a girl and she takes hours to reply. Your instinct might be to double text, to send a meme, to nudge her attention back. But what does that say? It says her time is more valuable than yours. It says you're waiting, pacing, hoping. The man who doesn't try doesn't chase that silence. He mirrors it. If she takes 3 hours, he replies when he feels like it, not out of spite, but out of truth. He's busy, he's centered, and she feels it. Here's what most men don't want to hear. Women aren't attracted to your giving. They're attracted to your restraint. A man who pours his entire attention on a woman he barely knows is telling her, I don't have much else going on. But when you hold back, when you give her just enough to feel seen but not enough to feel smothered, you create space. That space is tension, and tension is attraction. Think about the last time a woman glanced at you from across the room. She didn't walk over immediately. She let the moment breathe. She created tension, and you felt it. Now imagine if she had rushed straight up, unloaded everything about herself, begged for your attention. You'd lose interest. The same happens in reverse. The reason men fail at this is fear. Fear of losing her, fear of being forgotten, fear of not being enough. And fear breeds over effort. But the irony is this: the very thing you're afraid of losing her is exactly what your fear creates. Because when you chase, when you try too hard, you push her away. The less you need, the more attractive you become. Not because you're pretending not to care, but because you genuinely understand that your value doesn't depend on her validation. That is the heart of being attractive without trying. It's not manipulation, it's mastery of yourself. Picture a common trap. You're on a date, and she makes a sly comment, wow, you're really not my type, but you're fun. Most men panic, they laugh nervously, they try to prove themselves. They say, oh, I can be your type, trust me. They fight to erase the jab, but the man who doesn't try doesn't flinch. He smirks. Maybe he leans back. Maybe he changes the subject. Maybe he throws it back, playfully. Good thing I'm not applying. That calm refusal to defend himself flips the script. Suddenly, she's the one wondering if she measured him wrong. That's power. That's non-effort. That's attraction born from strength. You have to understand this: women are masters of sensing when a man is trying to convince her, and the moment she feels you working too hard, she files you away as replaceable. She might still see you, she might still talk to you, but deep down, her respect shrinks, and once respect dies, attraction dies. The solution isn't to withdraw into cold silence, it's to live in such a way that her validation doesn't matter. That means building your body because it serves you, not because it might impress her. That means pursuing your goals because they matter to you, not because they give you status points. That means controlling your emotions because chaos wastes your energy, not because you're trying to seem stoic. Every action rooted in self-respect bleeds out into how she perceives you, and the less you need her to see it, the more she does. So, next time you're sitting across from her, watch how she tests you. Does she interrupt you? Does she tease you to see if you get defensive? Does she withdraw attention to see if you'll chase? Don't take it personally. It's not an attack. It's instinct. It's how she finds out if your confidence is real. And when you stay grounded, when you don't break, that's when she feels it. She can't put it into words, but she knows this man doesn't need me. And because he doesn't need me, I want him. So let me ask you, when was the last time you collapsed under one of these tests? Did you double text? Did you explain yourself too much? Did you give her the upper hand without realizing it? And if you could go back, what would you have done differently? Tell me in the comments, I want to know your story. There's a hidden scoreboard in every interaction you have with women. It's not written down, it's not spoken out loud, but it's there. Every time you overreact, every time you explain yourself too much, every time you chase or overgive, you're subtracting points. And every time you remain calm, every time you hold back, every time you show you could walk away without losing yourself, you're adding them. Most men never see this scoreboard. They think they're doing the right thing by showing care, proving effort, being transparent. But in her mind, you're quietly eroding her respect. She notices. She always notices. Think about a time when a woman suddenly pulled back. Maybe the first date was great. The texts were flowing. And then silence. You felt panic. You started thinking, what did I do wrong? Did I say something stupid? Did she lose interest already? That panic drove you to text again, maybe twice, maybe more. Maybe you suggested another date, hoping to reel her back in. But she drifted further. Why? Because you exposed yourself. You showed her that her absence rattled you. You showed her that she had power over you. And once a woman feels she has complete power over your emotions, her attraction begins to die. The man who doesn't try too hard plays it differently. She pulls back. He doesn't chase. She takes her time. He doesn't panic. He doesn't flood the silence with nervous energy. He lets it breathe. He lets her come back on her own. And when she does, he hasn't lost an ounce of value in her eyes, because he never gave her the satisfaction of seeing him crumble. That's the quiet strength most men miss. Here's the key. Women will never tell you this rule directly, but they are constantly watching how you handle loss of control. Every late reply, every moment of distance, every teasing jab, these are small simulations of chaos. And your reaction tells her everything she needs to know about you. If you break under pressure, she knows she can't trust you to stay steady when life actually gets hard. But if you hold steady, she feels something most men never give her: security. Ironically, it's not the gifts, not the compliments, not the effort that give her security. It's your ability to stay unshaken. Let's get tactical. Imagine you're out with her, and she starts talking about another guy. Maybe an ex, maybe a co-worker who just gets her. Most men react instantly. They bristle, they interrupt, they try to pull her attention back. Well, I'm not like that guy. I'd treat you better. They don't realize they've just failed the test. She dangled bait, and they bit. But the man who doesn't try too hard doesn't compete. He doesn't defend. He lets her talk, maybe even smiles, and then shifts the conversation. Not coldly, not with insecurity, but with quiet confidence. His attitude says, "That's nice, but I'm not worried." That response does two things. It removes the power of comparison, and it makes her wonder why he's not bothered. That wondering keeps her invested. Or take another scenario: she pulls away during the date. Her body language closes off. She gets distracted. Maybe she checks her phone. Most men try to win her back. They crack jokes. They ask questions. They try to reignite her attention. But all that does is confirm that her disinterest controls him. The man who doesn't try too hard doesn't chase that shift. He relaxes. Maybe he enjoys his drink. Maybe he watches the room for a while. Maybe he lets her stew in the silence. And here's the twist: more often than not, she will feel that silence pressing back on her, and she will re-engage. Not because he forced her, but because his calmness reminded her he doesn't need her attention to feel valuable. Every time you hold steady, you build an aura. She starts to feel that your approval isn't easy to win. And when approval isn't easy, it becomes valuable. That's what makes you attractive without trying. You're not handing out validation like candy. You're selective. You know your worth. And you don't let her behavior pull you off center. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. It takes practice. It takes losing a few times. It takes feeling the sting of rejection and not letting it define you. But once you train yourself to stay calm when everything inside you wants to chase, you cross a line most men never will. You stop being the man who reacts, and you become the man she reacts to. Now, I want to ask you, when was the last time you fell into this trap? Did you double text? Did you fight for her attention when she drifted? Did you get jealous over another guy? Be honest, because every man has done it. And what would you do differently now that you see the game for what it is? Tell me in the comments. The cruel irony of modern dating is that the harder you try, the less she feels. Every desperate text, every attempt to explain yourself, every move to prove you're different from other men, it doesn't bring her closer. It makes her colder. Because attraction doesn't grow out of effort, it grows out of contrast. She has to feel that you are separate from her world, not drowning inside of it. And most men drown without realizing it. They make her the center of their thoughts, the anchor of their decisions, the measure of their worth. Then they wonder why she looks past them. Imagine this: you're standing in a bar, talking to her. You lean in, eager, hanging on her words, smiling too much, nodding too often. You think you're showing interest, but what she feels is pressure. She feels the weight of your need. Meanwhile, across the room, there's another guy. He's relaxed, leaning back, talking to his friends, glancing around without urgency. He's not even trying, but she feels his presence. Why? Because his energy isn't wrapped around her, and that independence feels like strength. That's the paradox. She chases the man who doesn't need her while ignoring the one who gives her everything. You have to understand something deep here. Women are addicted to the tension of uncertainty. Certainty feels safe, but it doesn't feel alive. If you hand her everything too soon, if you make yourself predictable, if you strip away all mystery, she loses the reason to chase. Attraction dies when she no longer feels the edge. That's why men who don't try seem magnetic. They're not broadcasting desperation. They're not revealing their entire deck of cards in one night. They hold back, not because they're playing games, but because their self-respect doesn't allow them to hand over everything for free. Here's a story you'll recognize. A guy meets a girl he really likes. He takes her out, treats her well, showers her with attention. At first, she smiles. She thanks him, maybe even kisses him goodnight. But soon she grows distant. The guy panics. He thinks, maybe I need to do more. Maybe I need to buy her something. Maybe I need to prove I'm serious. He doubles his effort, and she disappears completely. Why? Because he smothered the fire. He thought love was fuel. She felt it as water. On the other side, another man gives her just enough to feel his presence, but never enough to satisfy her completely. She thinks about him when he's not there. She wonders what he's doing. She checks her phone. That wondering is attraction, and it only exists because he didn't flood her with too much, too soon. So here's the tactic. Give her space to miss you. That means you don't respond instantly to every text. That means you don't cancel plans with friends just to see her. That means you don't reveal your entire history in the first week. You let her earn it. You pace the intimacy. You protect your mystery. Because what she values most is not your availability, it's your scarcity. Men make the mistake of thinking love is about constant presence, but desire is built in absence. Attraction grows in the moments where she feels your silence, not just your words. And there's something even more important. You must train yourself to be calm in uncertainty. This is where most men fail. She delays a reply, and they spiral. She flirts with someone else in front of them, and they snap. She pulls back, and they chase harder. Every time, they break their own frame. But the man who holds steady in uncertainty becomes unforgettable. Because in a world where most men beg for reassurance, the one man who doesn't need it feels like a storm she can't control. And women are drawn to what they can't control. This doesn't mean you become distant or cold. It means you remain rooted in yourself. If she comes closer, you welcome it. If she pulls away, you don't crumble. If she tests you, you don't defend. You stay calm, you stay present, and you let her see that your value is untouched by her behavior. That's when she feels it. This man is different. This man doesn't bend to every shift in my mood. This man is his own center. And that center is what she respects. So I'll ask you this. How often do you collapse in uncertainty? Do you panic when she doesn't reply? Do you overreact when she tests you? Do you give more just to keep her close? Be honest, because those moments reveal the truth about where your strength lies. And if you could take back one moment of over-effort, what would it be? Share it below. I want to hear your story. Here's the truth most men don't want to face. Women don't fall in love with how much you give. They fall in love with how much you can withhold. Not in the sense of being cruel or manipulative, but in the sense of discipline. Every man is capable of showering a woman with attention, money, gifts, effort. That's easy. But very few men can hold back. Very few can resist the urge to explain themselves, resist the pull to prove their worth, resist the temptation to hand over their entire heart before she's earned even a piece of it. And that's what makes restraint so rare and so magnetic. Think of the times you've given too much too soon. Maybe you told her everything about your past on the first date. Maybe you texted her paragraphs when she barely sent a line. Maybe you cleared your schedule just to see her. In your mind, it was generosity. In her mind, it was exposure. You stripped yourself bare before she even asked. And when mystery dies, desire follows right behind it. She didn't need to chase, didn't need to wonder, didn't need to earn. You thought you were building closeness. What you built was predictability. And predictability is attraction's slowest killer. On the other hand, think about the men women obsess over. It's never the guy who tells her you're the most beautiful girl I've ever met on day one. It's the man who gives her a compliment only when it slips out naturally. It's not the guy who floods her phone. It's the man who replies when he's actually free, not when he's anxiously waiting. It's not the man who explains himself every time she teases. It's the one who just smirks, lets the silence hang, and leaves her wondering what he's thinking. That gap, that uncertainty, that restraint, that's what fuels her imagination. And when a woman's imagination is engaged, attraction deepens. Here's what you need to know: her greatest weapon isn't her beauty. It's her ability to test. She tests your patience with delayed replies. She tests your ego with subtle jabs. She tests your composure with silence. And every time you break, every time you rush to prove, every time you beg for reassurance, you fail. Not because she wanted to reject you, but because she wanted to see if you were real. She wanted to see if your confidence could survive pressure, and when it couldn't, she quietly lost respect. So how do you win? You stop playing on her terms. You stop making her the measure of your worth. You stop reacting like every small test is a threat. Instead, you treat it as what it is: a chance to show your strength. She delays replying, "Fine, you're busy anyway." She teases you, you smile, maybe tease back, but you don't explain. She pulls away. You let her. You don't beg her to return. You let space do its work. Because here's the truth: women feel more attraction in the space between your words than in the words themselves. Let me make this tactical. Next time you're with a woman and she challenges you, maybe she says, "You're probably just like every other guy, don't defend yourself." Don't rush to prove her wrong. Smile, say, "If that's what you think," and move on. That tiny refusal to fight for approval is more powerful than 100 speeches. Or when she ignores your message for hours, don't send another. Don't sit there staring at your phone. Go live your life. Work out. Meet friends. Build. When you finally reply, do it without resentment, without sarcasm, just calm. That calm tells her you're not hooked by her game. And that calm is what keeps her hooked on you. Attraction without trying isn't about doing nothing. It's about not doing the wrong things. It's about recognizing the moments where most men collapse and choosing not to. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Soon, you won't be faking it. You won't even think about it. You'll just live it. And when you live it, women feel it without you saying a word. So let me turn this on you. Which test do you fail the most? Is it the silence, the teasing, the delayed replies, or is it the pull to give too much, too fast? Which moment feels like your weakness? Tell me in the comments. I want to see where you've stumbled, because that's where your power begins. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.